Hey, guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey, guys, how are you today? You're going to have a great time. So I want you to be prepared to listen to Jeff Brekken. And I'm going to allow Jeff to explain who he is, how he's gotten here, and how he's become this badass, successful, well-rounded man who's insightful on many, many levels. So what I'm unsure of is which area of your life he's going to tap into, because I know he's going to tap into many areas of your life. I just don't know which one it'll be. It could be business, it could be relational, it could be personal, it could be financial, because he has experience and expertise in all of these areas, both personally and professionally. So he's a badass, and that's why he's here. So I'm gonna just let Jeff go. We're going to let him loose. So Jeff, I would love to know how before I even say that, I want to say one more thing, because Jeff has a podcast, and what really struck me about his podcast was what it's all about, the mission. And I'm just going to read it. It says, it's called Addicted to Winning. People who have won, then lost, and then got on track again to win. And then they get up one more time and they get knocked down. And what I love about that is because this is my little rant about success. And I know that Jeff agrees with this, is that most entrepreneurs who have gotten any measure of success in their life, they know the degree of failures that we keep having to kick over, the mistakes that we make, the getting up again. And I just love that podcast is about that. And what this is about here is about waking people up that you can triumph basically over anything and you can create the life you want. So we resonate together. So could you just explain what you mean about that? Winning, getting up again, losing, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First, Alison, I truly want to say I appreciate being here and thank you for having me on as a guest. You are an amazing individual.
Oh, did you just do that? Where are my sound effects? I'm so mad. Okay, love it. Go ahead. Let's get
standing ovation already.
I got some good ones. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much here. So yeah, the podcast, if you would have told me 2 years ago that I was going to have a podcast and have 70 episodes out within, just over a year, I probably would have told you you're crazy, right? But there's I love talking to people. I love getting into their brains, how they operate. And the thing about it is, what you just described with Addicted to Winning, and, you get up, you get down, you get up. It's like a mountaintop, and you really want to, it's like in sales, right? Or anybody that has goals, you want that, you're always striving for that next thing and that next thing. But guess what? What's in between those two things is a valley. And people go through crap all the time, whether it's business, personal relationships, it doesn't matter. But it's all, to me, Addicted to Winning means life is going to give you landmines. Life is going to give you lemons. Life is going to give you setbacks, knockdowns, whatever that is. But you need to learn from every single one of those knockdowns and life's lessons. Don't call them failures. You call them life's lessons. Learn from that so that you're not there the next time that, or in a year or 6 more months or whatever that is, right? Learn from it. Make it an absolute learning, a life's learning lesson. So you're getting up faster, bigger, stronger, quicker every single time that life hands you something like that. Because inevitably, listen, life is going to hand us crap. Everything can't be, unicorns and rainbows forever. Like, it's going to hand you stuff. And, we talked a little bit earlier about social media. Wow, great. Everybody's happy on social media, right? Until they're not, and then they don't post the things that are going wrong. Very few people do. We're part of a group or a couple groups that you know, yeah, things you win, but you also lose, and you have to be true to yourself so that you put your authentic, genuine self out there, if that makes sense.
It makes so much sense, and I'm just learning and appreciating what you're saying myself, because I know, and I have been really super misunderstood just from social media, because I I do present really happy. In the moment when I'm putting something out there, I feel the happiness, but there could be a whole shit show going on in my life at that moment that I'm not sharing. And I really, at one point, I just pivoted away from that, and I decided that I was going to do something, I was going to start being more vulnerable. And because really, honestly, if you think of the people that I admire are the ones who are vulnerable. Those are the people that I'm
Absolutely.
drawn to. Like Ed Milet talks about being depressed a lot of the time and having hard times and feeling insecure. I was just listening to Alex Hermosi, and he was describing that one of the biggest things that he said three things. I hope I get this right. He said that they think that they're better than everyone else, but wait, it's good. It's people who are successful think that they can exceed better than anyone and higher than anyone, but they're also the most intrinsically insecure people. And that,
But they're the hardest on themselves too, right,
yes,
Allison?
yes, egomaniacs with an inferiority complex, right?
Yeah,
And it's like,
right.
really, because we have like, and when you're describing it, like my mind's going like, I got to do this, I got to do that. So you always feel like you're failing because you're not reaching where you see, right? Because we
100%.
see so far, like we get excited over things.
So many successful entrepreneurs out there, and we know quite a few of them. I mean, you talk about Ed Milet, and he's one of our sales coaches and mentors, really.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is we set goals so high that if we don't get to them, number one, we're usually okay if we don't hit those goals because they're so extreme goals,
Yes.
right?
Right.
But there's something about that competitive nature with yourself. Really, the only person that's holding you back from anything in life is yourself. And if
100%.
like you said earlier, like vulnerability, I've been super vulnerable the last 4 years, and my growth, the trajectory has been amazing. But there's also, there's areas of my life that's business, but there's areas of my life that I haven't been super vulnerable that I need to work on me. Like I get up every single day trying to be the best version of myself I can possibly be and move at least a small step forward every single day. And very few people in the world, they don't think about stuff like that on a daily basis.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the whole meaning of this podcast. It's, because it's mission awake. And I feel like we are automated. So if we do not, like, our unconscious mind is the thing that's driving us and we don't even know it. And the only part of us that is going to change anything is our conscious mind. That's a creative part of us. So it's like when you say, I'm going to be that 1% better, I feel like every day, if we move the needle, the increments are the things that everybody misses. Like, oh, I got to make a big move. No, the big moves are the tiny billions of moves that we make every day, every moment we're in, how we shift our thoughts to the better thought, right? There's this thing, and I want you to talk, but I get crazy over ideas. Like, I remember when I would do marriage counseling, one of the things that I would tell people, it just came to me, so I'm going to say it, is that a suspension bridge, when it has those big, I may not get this in terms of engineering correctly, but it's an incredible concept that there's millions and millions of tiny little micro threading that goes through those big tubes on a suspension bridge. And that like a marriage is like that. It's the gazillion interactions, the one look, the this that adds to this big, big, big either strength of a bridge between people or a broken, weak bridge. Because it's every moment of what we're doing, right? So I don't know
That's
how I
exactly
trailed into
right.
that, but that's what I thought of when we were talking. So what do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I got a lot of stuff on this type of thing. I I was in a relationship, 25 years married,
Mm,
and the last 4 years I've been on a mission to literally eliminate every negative person out of my life and
mm.
replace those with three positives, right? Three positive people. And it has been a long journey. It's been freaking lonely at times. But the thing about it is I'm a better person today for eliminating every negative person out of my life and on social media, on every, like, it's gone.
Can you
So I'm in
explain
a
to us how
really,
you've done it? I would like to hear how you've done it, because it's like removing
it,
negativity in a healthy way. Like how do you do that?
it, you said conscious, unconscious, right? Like it's a little bit of both, and I just got really big goosebumps here. But you have to make it a conscious effort. You are going to be, and this is a cliche, but it's not really a cliche. I mean, it's outright. You are going to be the sum of the five people that you surround yourself with, and that is whether, if you're surrounded with five drunks, you're going to be the sixth. If you're surrounded with five people that live just a negative life, guess what? You're going to be the sixth negative person in that group. But if you hang around with people that are positive, and you hang around with people that are going somewhere and want to, put personal growth and loving yourself ahead of everything else, because to be honest with you, and this is a thing that this is totally another topic, but you can't love. I cannot physically love somebody if they don't love themselves. Why should I put myself out there and love them if they don't love themselves? If they're
Exactly.
not nurturing themselves in order to help and love me back, how can how can that person ask me to love them?
Hmm. And how can someone love you if you don't love yourself? It's the same exact thing, because
That's right.
I don't think this is a different topic. This is all success. This is all like when we raise the water level in one area, we're raising it in all of our areas, right? So it's like,
Right.
to me, it's like the only thing that comes to us is what we feel that worthy of, right?
Absolutely.
We attract
You
who
know,
we
you
are, right?
100%. And I mean, I was so fortunate 4 years ago to be in the same room with 100 people. You and I, Arte Syndicate, and with a lot of friends in that, but with Joe Dispenza.
Oh my
And
God. You know that I go to
and
him all the time?
yes,
Oh
I
yeah.
do.
Sorry, I just got
Um,
excited. He's my
so,
man.
but yes, like,
Not
I
really.
mean, Joe was with a super intimate group, 100 people in Idaho. And I'm telling you, that changed the direction of my life.
Yes.
And with Joe, he's like, the vast majority of people, they get up in the morning, the first thing that they check is their cell phones. And it's the same negative stuff on social media every single day. Well, guess what? You're on you're automated at that point. 95% of your thoughts and actions and everything per day are automated. Well, how do you break that? Well, okay, you meditate in the morning, you manifest, you have your visionary boards, you have everything, and you start replacing that 5 or 8 or 10 or an hour, right? However many minutes that you look at negative social media right out of the gate, first thing in the morning, you replace that with positive thoughts and affirmations and whatever else that you have to do. That's one big part of your life that really truly you have to be conscious about, make a conscious effort, and it will absolutely change. Like if you are thinking positive thoughts, you're gonna inquire a really nice positive day, positive people, the energy that you like. Energy is, I didn't really believe in energy, right, prior to like 4 or 5 years ago, but energy is an app, it is powerful, absolutely powerful.
Everything.
And if you're not 100%, 100%. I mean, you can have a relationship that goes south, and if you're thinking about that person, more than likely, like in the middle of the night, right? If you wake up thinking about that person probably is not sleeping. They're up because somebody's thinking about them.
Yes.
It's crazy how energy works.
Yes.
And I've literally dove into that, in the last couple of years as far as energy goes. But that it's this whole world is powered off of energy, and you can either be on the negative side or you can be on the positive side.
I'll tell you, Jeff, I could go absolutely hog wild crazy talking about all this stuff. I will try to temper myself. I don't know if it will work. But basically,
Let's
the
go.
I'm just going because basically what you're describing, the thing about, I think that if we knew as human beings, like you and I are discussing it because we're coming from a place of awareness. I always tell people be awake and aware in the now without judgment, right? So now, if we're aware of the fact that we're automated, that the people that you're around, and this is I'm piggybacking on what you said, that we're literally, our brain waves are being shared. You know how women that they end up menstruating at the same time if they're together a lot. Maybe you didn't know that, but it's true. So the people that you spend time with, you start to regulate with. Our brains,
Absolutely.
the patterns will start to vibe together. So when we're aware of that, so like, and also the other thing in a relationship, or if you meet someone, if you bring high energy, high vibe energy, you then can be the one carrying the energy for that interaction. And you think they have high energy, they're just reflecting your energy back. So you don't even realize.
100%.
Yeah. So then over time, you start to see that you're like, oh my God, I'm drained. I can't. So when you don't have the energy, there's no energy in the room. But anyhow, so
Right.
yeah. So how do you, like when you were saying about, winning, then getting knocked down again, winning again? To me, I know there's people on here who are in the lower end of that at times. I mean, I just was in it like really bad, like, and I would discuss.
I was as well.
You were. Do you want to share it, or what, how you were in a dark place, or I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's the places get dark, right? And it's not, it wasn't business wise. It was just a personal relationship. But the thing about it is, you have to be. You and I talked a little bit earlier about sometimes when you're in a situation, whether that's business, whether that's relationship wise, it doesn't really matter. But sometimes you're just too close to it to see either green flags or red flags, right? And so a lot of people miss both, right? The good flags and the bad flags, but because you're just too close to it. And self-reflection is an absolute wonderful thing. And if you're not reflecting upon what went good today, what went bad today, like, and just maybe some conversations that were had, you're missing out on some key fundamental and keys to relationships. And you need to take that 10-foot view to say maybe a 10,000-foot view and just overlook and reflect upon the situation. And you're going to get way different outcomes in life, and every single day because you're doing that.
Yeah, and it's just the concept of being fully present. Like we were talking before about being a wise observer of the interactions that you're having. Like zoom out and understand, like
Yeah.
what. Let's say you see something in an interaction. We were talking about that, like a red flag. There's this joke, I have to say it, that when you wear rose-colored glasses, all the red flags look white. I think that's so funny. But anyhow, so it's
100%.
right.
Because
So
you're too close to the situation, right? Like that
yeah,
goes with that.
or you're too close to it, or you're not fully present enough to understand that your programming is making you resonate with this other person in such a way that you can't see it. It matches where you're programmed to go and you don't even know it. But if you're a wise
That's right.
observer outside of your unconscious, non-conscious mind, and you're observing your life as a creator, and we start creating our life, holy, I want to
Yeah.
curse, holy shenanigans. Like that is crazy. Think like, but you going through whatever you went through and the red flags you saw, what you've gained something, right, Jeff?
Oh, again, I'm getting goosebumps again because like everything that you do in life, if you are not looking at it as a learning experience or a life experience to learn from, you're missing out on the best that's coming to you, right? Or that could come to you. You said something earlier about being present. I have learned that over the last only like maybe 6 months, 8 months. The biggest gift that you can give yourself or give anybody that you're talking to is to be present. Put the phone down, put social media down, get out of your own head and focus on being present. That's the biggest and best gift you can ever give anybody.
Yes. Everything is safe in the present. I'll tell
That's
people,
right.
just keep your head, heart, and feet all in the same spot. Sometimes just close your eyes and make your eyes on the inside, just look up, and you'll find peace. Because if you really think about it, like I'll tell my daughter or whoever I'm talking off a ledge that moment, but like, okay, look around yourself. Are you safe now? Like, who are you with now? All the people that you're thinking about that's a problem, or all the issues, your debt, whatever it is it in this moment where you are? Is anything happening? And usually you can say no, because all our fear is future based, right? So it's
That's right.
like, I have to do that when things are really like hard. I'm like, wow, I can't breathe, when things, when I feel
You, you
impacted.
know, you,
Mhm.
to go off of that,
Yeah.
Allison, like if like today, right? You and I, we're talking, but if something goes wrong today and we think, man, that's just the worst thing on earth that could go wrong right now. But guess what? Tomorrow that big ball of fire in the sky will rise again. And it's going to be 98% less dramatic or less tense, right? Tomorrow morning when that sun rises. But yet we're if we're in the moment, we're thinking, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. Okay, well, let's wait 20 hours until that sun rises again, and it's going to be fine.
Isn't it amazing how many things are just fine,
Yeah,
Jeff? That, like the things that if we think about anything we worried about a year ago, we're not worrying about it today.
that's right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. The concept of just like, I think being fully present is the antidote for really all fear or concern, right?
Yep.
So how do you get up again after you've been knocked down 3 or 4 times? Curious.
Well,
You say.
yeah, it's tough, right? Most people don't, after the second knockdown, they don't get back up. I mean, I had my first knockdown at age 13. My dad came to me and said, "Hey, son, we're not going to be farmers anymore." And I thought I was going to be on the farm forever. And that was the hardest decision the hardest thing that he had to do. And this is from his words, not mine, is tell me that I was not going to be a future farmer. And I had spent 13 years on the farm, right? Hundreds of hours, a month usually, depending on if it's springtime or harvest time. But that crushed me. That absolutely crushed me. And that was the hardest thing that my dad ever had to tell anybody in his life. And he's 80 years old.
Wow.
And then at 18, I had another one. At 36, I had another one. I mean, you just and these are not small, like these are major things that have happened. And then, to be honest with you, in the last, couple of years, a 25-year relationship ends. And how do you get up from that? Like, everything should be a learning lesson. If you have the abundance mindset and that you're grateful, you're truly grateful for anything that comes up. Like, I have zero regrets, not one regret in life. That 25-year relationship that ended, I have two amazing, beautiful daughters from that relationship. And without that relationship, I wouldn't have those daughters.
Yes.
And so you just have to, you can't play the victim role. If you're going to play the victim role, you're going to be in the depths of hell and you're never, ever going to get up from that. Right. But if you're grateful, if you're thankful for what everything that has ever happened to you, like Alison, I'll be honest with you. Like, we were in Mexico, right, together in
Yeah.
like May, and everything, like, if that didn't happen, we're not here today.
Yeah.
If
Oh, that's true,
if
right?
certain
Yeah.
things didn't happen, right, like
Mhm.
25 years ago, I'm not here with talking with you today. Like
Yeah.
if you just have that mindset of everything happens for a reason, and every single conversation that you have, it could be somebody, when you're pumping gas in your car, and hey, have a great day. And then all of a sudden you see them 3 weeks later and you're like, you're the person at the gas station that you said hi to me. And that did a lot for me. I was, going through a dark time, and that really turned my day around. So I appreciate that for you. Everything happens for a reason. It totally goes back to the energy, right? I truly believe that the good Lord, Lord, whatever, like your higher being, soul, whatever, he put me on this earth for a massive purpose. And I need to follow that divine energy to
Yes.
to help a lot of people.
Yep.
And if you come to every single day, if you get up every single day and you have that mindset, like you are going to do phenomenal things in life.
I couldn't even agree with that more because I think that the biggest way we've been duped is to believe that, the whole concept of mediocrity, that we're just here, it's meaningless. And I think that
100%.
I say to myself, every day, there's a couple of things I say. I say, how can I be of best service to God and man today? And like and just to I think that concept that we're saying about being like awake, aware in the now, to be able to say, okay, right now where I am in this moment, how can I add value? I don't care where I am, because that now I'm creating. So it's like we can create constantly, and I think we're meant to create. I think that we're dying when we're not creating, and we're depressed when we're not creating, and when we're not valuing hard times, which they are. So like I was just in such a hard time, like at our business, and the girl who runs my business, Rachel, we were like, oh my god, we're dying. But then I was like, in the midst of it, I'm saying, Rachel, where something is growing in us now. She's like, I know it. And like we can't see it, but we know it's happening. We just have to believe it's happening. And it did, and it
100%.
was. Like, when you
Yeah.
come out of that thing, you're different. It's like fire, right? Like, pain is a good thing, it's a gift.
Oh, pain. Oh, that's a whole nother deal right there. Like, like knockdowns, setbacks, whatever it is, right? Like it's painful. But if you continue the journey, be consistent, show up every day for yourself, not for anybody else. Show up for yourself. And it's going to be a phenomenal life if you just have that mindset. Learn from all your mistakes, learn from your failures, learn from whatever it is, right? You have to learn from that. But then the other thing and you asked me a little bit earlier, and I'm not sure if I answered it or not, but how do you get up from the biggest knockdowns? I have faith in myself. I always have, I always will. And it's all about, I know my limitations, and I use my strengths. And if I have a weakness in an area, either I'm gonna learn that weakness, or I'm gonna surround myself with people that can help me.
Yes.
And that's the quickest way to get out of whatever it is, that slump or whatever, the darkness or whatever you're in. Surround yourself with people that can help you. We're in a couple masterminds together. I want to be the dumbest person in the room
Yes.
because I want to be a sponge, right? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong damn room,
Yes.
and you have the wrong attitude.
Hmm.
So that to me is, number one, you have to love yourself. You have to have faith in yourself, and you got to learn from the life's lessons that life, to be honest with you, they give you. The man upstairs is not going to give you any more than what he thinks that you can handle. But if you put it out there that said, man, I can handle a lot, okay, great. But ups are going to be great, and the downs are really going to be really down too.
Yeah.
But and that's the life of an entrepreneur, to be
Isn't
honest.
it? Isn't it? And also, just if you think about it, if we don't have those dark times, how do we see the light? How do we
Yeah,
appreciate anything without that polarity, right? I mean, it's
100%.
the way, it's the way it is. The sun always rises, right?
Yeah.
When you were describing like that thing about like going to someone else and like us being in these different masterminds, I mean, I just being with people who get you, who are reaching higher. It's so life-changing. But I think we're on to something. I'm going to change from our conversation because it's the core sense of shame that I think a lot of us have from whatever, our childhood or whatever, I know I have it, is that it keeps me from being fully open about mistakes or whatever. I'm a very open person, but I think that I'm selective in who I'll share that with, you know? And it's in right? So,
100% correct.
but all truth, like nothing changes until it becomes what it is. And I feel like all freedom is the only pathway to freedom is through truth. So how are we ever going to be like, so I think the freest person is the fully honest. Yeah, this is what
Yeah.
I just did this, made this, but you accept it. Well, you know how like everyone's like, oh, you got to find your why, you got to find your why. So like I went like 80 layers deep. Well, why? When I was trying to like achieve a goal. So I was like, why do I want this? Why? All the way down. And you know what I hit? It was gold for me. The number one reason why for me in everything is because I need to develop a trust for myself. I don't trust myself to follow through and make the thing. And that was like years ago that I found that why. It's the best. That's a goal for me. Always to be trust myself more.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I talk about worth a lot on my
Yeah.
podcast. And my dad gave me the greatest gift he could ever give me at age 9. On the farm, we had hired men that helping, you know, with the crops and harvesting, everything like that, right? But at age 8 and 9, I was doing roughly the same thing. I was spending 10, 12 hours a day in a tractor. I was helping around the farm, whatever that needed to be done. I did it. You know, I was driving loaded farm truck on the highway at 9 and 10 years old, and combines, huge combines for harvest at 10 and 11 years old. And so that trust factor, like you were saying, like people trust you should trust yourself, right? But that self-worth is society tells you what you're worth. Alison, okay, you know, you're gonna be a production worker. Guess what you're worth? You're worth 22.50 an hour.
Right.
And that's it, right? And they society just places these unnatural like things on people that say, well, I guess you know, I've never made more than $75,000 a year, so you know, it'd be nice to make 78 or 80,000, right? Why not 280,000? Why not 2 million?
Right.
Because
Exactly.
you have it in you. You just have to have faith and trust in yourself that that could happen, and
Yeah.
then the world like opens up.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's, but you said earlier too, it's like, you know, sometimes that worth, that trust, you know, man, in the down times, Allison, you sure do you sure do ask yourself if you're worth it and you deserve that, right? Like you start second guessing yourself. And once you get past the second guessing, like, yes, I am worth this, I do deserve this, things changed like overnight.
Do you feel that I'm just compelled to ask this question. Do you feel that when people like, you know, if you have haters or people who are misunderstanding you, you know, which is a really common thing, especially, you know, if you're out there on social media or you're presenting success or, you know, any of that, do you feel that um when someone has misunderstood you, which they probably have if they hate you, um, what do you do with that? Like how do you I mean, I know it's there for us, right? Wouldn't you agree? Because that's one of
Yeah.
the ways I think we can feel knocked down is being misunderstood or people perceiving us in a way that is not true. It's very
Yeah.
difficult, right?
I absolutely don't. I mean, yes, I've got haters out there, and anybody that puts themselves out there on social media. I mean, I have no filters on social media. Like as far as you know, how only friends can see this stuff. No, it's public.
Yep.
Everything I got's public. So guess what?
Yep.
I might as well tell the freaking truth right away because somebody is going to be pissed off, and somebody's going to say, "No, that didn't happen like that. That didn't." Guess what? It did happen like that, and I'm putting it all out there, and I have nothing to hide. So when you have nothing to hide, you're almost like living in a glass house. Like everybody can see what the hell's going
Yeah.
on. But to your point is, man, yeah, there's always going to be haters, but haters, to me, it's jealousy. They've never walked a mile in my shoes, and they probably wouldn't ever want to be honest with you, because like I have humongous goals. I have I put more pressure on myself than anybody else in the world would ever put pressure on me.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
only me that's either going to do it or not going to do it at the end of the day. So that's why you have to have faith in yourself and
Yeah.
don't care about your haters. Oh man, that's just jealousy, right? Like I don't get into that drama. I don't, that's so
No.
far from me. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I mean, that would be in line with what you're describing of the negativity, that if, when you're being, if someone, if that's happening, you're removing that from your life because they're not even perceiving you correctly. Why even have them? Even
Yeah,
be able to hear them.
100%. Well, Alison, there's people out there in relationships that will all of a sudden, one day they'll say, "Hey, I love you." And the next day, there's a new shiny object in town, and there's a new person with bigger muscles or a nicer dress or nicer outfits. I mean, if you're going from relationship to relationship like that, shame on you, and you're hurting a lot of people along the way. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I got out of one of those relationships, and I had to take that step back and say, damn, what were the red flags? Like we talked about a little bit
Yeah.
earlier. And second guessing me, like, what the hell did I do wrong? I guess what? I didn't do anything wrong. Like if I did something wrong, I would not be shunned and cut out of every social media, so I'm not seeing the new pictures of the new person. That
Mhm.
wasn't me. That was them.
How did you handle, that sort of, I mean, to me, it sounds like it may be a big word, but like betrayal, like to feel like, or rejection, right? I mean, that's one of the, isn't that our biggest fear? Like to be hurt in
That's
that way.
100%. Well, you want to be liked, right? Like you
Hmm.
want to be accepted. You want to be part of the in crowd, right? But then when somebody betrays you, it's like, oh, I guess I'm not in. I'm not part of the in crowd. I guess I don't deserve it. I'm not worth it. You know what I mean? You do. You
100%.
second guess yourself on everything, and you just have to say, listen, like there's some people in the world that are just not going to treat you like you want to be treated, and just move on. Like and again, zero regrets, because those are things that you need to learn from in order for that next relationship to be even better and even more like to have an amazing life. You have to learn from everything that happens in your life.
Hmm. Yeah, and if like you were sitting here like a victim, it would not give you a good return. It's
Oh,
kind of like,
100%.
it happened for you. It's
That's right.
hard to imagine it. We were discussing earlier, but like when someone just like, let's say, just leaves, that just like, and you have no real full explanation, right? So it's like you have this empty space to fill in, all the what ifs, what happened, all those things. And I think that we have this sense, like, because our brain scans for trouble, so
Mhm.
we'll look for everything that's like wrong. But so much of our identities, I think that what we're talking about is not allowing our identity to be defined by externals, whatever it is, the paycheck, the person, the people, places, and things, right? So
Yep.
how, it's like we have to almost like create our identity based in being really as filled with love and goodness and being in our purpose as much as we can, right? So that person
100%.
somehow gave you it, probably for a period of time when we're hurting, right? An identity, like, or searching for an identity, like, what is wrong with me, right? I think that happens a lot when people have a breakup, like, wow, what did I do? What's wrong with me? Remember, we were
That's
talking
exactly.
about if you did something wrong, which you probably did. We all do things that are wrong. We all make mistakes. We all are not perfect. Like, who is in a relationship that's perfect, right? So then if the person just bails, like, does that mean that, it just means that the conversation wasn't had or the issue wasn't resolved? So we have a tendency to like illuminate this problem or the mistake instead of saying, yes, I made the mistake, but I was willing to change it. I was willing to whatever. I'm not saying you made a mistake. I'm just saying, like all of
Right.
us, but we magnify what's wrong with us or what we think is wrong with us, or we think someone else thinks is wrong with us. Yes?
It all comes back to second guessing yourself when that happens. Like when you don't get the opportunity to have that conversation about,
Yes.
hey, this isn't maybe working out, whatever it is. But when you don't get that opportunity to have that conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden it's gone, right?
Yes.
Like you should never look at you. And again, I did, like I looked inward, like what the hell is wrong with me? But that's not a normal relationship. That relationship was very, very one-sided. I I took a look at myself, and I'm a big personal development person, but
Yeah.
to be honest with you, like the last 4 years, yeah, personal development, that's going to help in the business. But in the last 6 months, it's like, damn, what happened here? You know, I was looking at me like, what's wrong with me? But then I'm like, holy cow, okay, I'm a big empath guy, right? So I my entire life, I put everybody else ahead of me. I made sure that everybody else was good. Everybody else was taken care of. And then if there was anything left, I got the scraps. And I was okay with that because I'm a people pleaser, right? But you it's like the analogy of an airplane, right? Airplane loses altitude, masks drop down. There's a reason why they tell you to put your own mask on first so that you can help other
Yes.
people. And you have to love yourself enough so that you can help a lot more people versus not loving yourself and help maybe 3 people. But guess what happens if you love yourself? You can help 3,000 people instead of three
100%.
people,
Yep.
right? And that's the one thing that I took out of that relationship is like, man, it's not me, because that was just a one-sided relationship. There was another shiny object that all of a sudden this person went for, and it wasn't about me necessarily. It was about the shiny object. And so when I love myself, when I believe I'm worth more and deserve more, like that never it should never come into play like that. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And what I think, even just in that experience, like you have this experience with this person, right? That it's like, what can you gather from that experience? You learning that you were abandoning yourself your whole life to please other people, right? I mean, a young farming boy would do that. 8 hours,
Right.
you do, right? Because you're just always like you're in this mode, which is cool. But it's, we can morph off of it into, that codependency thing, right? I'm
100%.
gonna, yeah. And it's so, I feel like real love is so, it's backwards to what we're, or anything that's God, I think that really comes from the truth is backwards to the way the world works. So like it looks like if you're selflessly giving all the time that you're a good person, but really you're manipulating yourself in such a way to control the way other people feel about you,
100%.
instead of filling yourself up so much. You're so valuable to other people because of this intense love that you have for yourself and for God and your purpose, that you can't help but love other people. You just have
That's
so
right.
much, you just, and giving is easy. It's just not even hard, right?
I've actually had 2 people in the last 2 years, 2 separate relationships, say, you're too positive. Jeff, you're too positive. What the F is that?
I
How can
get it.
somebody be too positive? Right? I can tell you the reason that I truly believe why they think I'm too positive is because they're from a negative mindset.
You know what's weird that happens to people, I think, that think in this way? Because it happens to me, and I've learned to, I'm learning, not, I haven't learned, I'm learning to temper my positivity. So it's like this weird thing, because it's like when I hear someone sharing about something that they're struggling with, but the way that they're thinking about it is like in a victim way. I want to present something that's going to help them to see it, that even though this is hard, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's almost like they think we're not validating them, that we're not fully like, oh, I hear you. I understand this is really hard, right? And then, however, it doesn't have to be that hard, but right? It feels insulting to them.
You know,
Right?
the more grateful you are with things that come to you, the more thankful you are, the more blessed that you truly believe that you are, the simpler life is.
So good. Hmm. And
It
gratitude is a
just
state of receivership. What, like, if you
right.
don't, like, I mean, if you're not like, I try to, like, when I'm dreaming of a beach house, right? But then I wake up in my house, do I appreciate my house? And I really, really appreciate my house. I love my house. But there's
Yeah,
this sense like, oh, if I love it too much, maybe I won't get that big house, but it's not true. It's the
right.
opposite, right?
100%.
But the other thing about what you were saying about your experience with being, ghosted or whatever, like that whole thing, you're involved in this thing and then just bam, they're gone, right? I feel like another thing is whatever you loved about that connection, I feel like almost like God gives us examples of the things that we love, but they're not the full picture. But it's like, oh, let me put that in my toolbox. I want that on my list of what really means something to me. But now I learned how to love myself more by not betraying myself. So you like look at what you right. Don't you feel like you've gained that? Because you know what you loved in that relationship.
Totally agree with that. I mean, and again, like but you can't look at that as, hey, um, it's you, because sometimes I had a post on social media the other day that says sometimes the obstacles that need to be removed from your life have names, right? And
Sure.
that sometimes that's the best gift that God could ever give us is, yes, maybe it was love at some point, maybe it was, 25-year relationship, however long those relationships, and then all of a sudden if they end, you know, I tried like heck for the last 15 years of that marriage to go to counseling to make it work. But it just sometimes that gap gets so, I'm on a personal growth, um I'm not bandwagon, but that I just love personal growth. And when you give somebody, say, okay, I'll give you 2 years to work on you so that we can bring that gap closer and not spread it apart, right? And when that person doesn't want to work on things, that's an issue. And so that obviously it's not the right relationship for me at this point, right? I got everything out of that relationship that I could possibly get, and it's time for me to spread my wings and move on. It's like a cartoon with a caterpillar and a butterfly, and the caterpillar says, "Hey, you've changed," and the butterfly says, "Yeah, we're supposed to."
And you haven't.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. This whole process, like it's funny that we're having this conversation about like life, relationships, and all of that. It's so interesting to me because you have so much in your life in terms of success and business and all of that. And this right here is the thing that if we don't have that right, it impacts everything, right? Doesn't it?
Yep. If you don't have self-love, if you don't have self-worth, if you don't believe that you deserve more in life, you literally you get what you have,
Yep. I had a
you know.
pastor once forever ago, like forever, like I don't even know. I think I was 20, but he said, when in my path of, wanting to be married or whatever, he said, just one thing I always want you to remember. And I never forgot it. So it worked. He said, no matter who you choose, be sure that whoever you choose, that they are somebody who's willing to grow and change. If they are not willing to grow and change, no matter what they are, no matter what they are today, do not connect yourself to them. And I have 3 questions I ask young women to answer when they're choosing to marry someone, in the counseling center. I say, okay, if you want to marry this guy. Okay. So if this person never changed for the entire rest of their life and they stayed exactly how they are, would you want to marry them? And that yes or no. Number 2, if you had a child with that person, would you want your child to be exactly like them? Right?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. And you should see their faces. They're like, I'm like, okay, so you never fall in love with potential, and think about what that, that means. And you know what? I can't even believe I forgot my third question. That's embarrassing. I mean, I actually have
Those
to
are two
ask it
amazing
all the
questions.
time.
But that's self-reflection, right? Like you have to be able to, because again, what we talked about earlier, like they're in the bubble. They're too close to the situation.
Yeah.
But if they back up 10,000 feet and look at this, and those questions are absolutely amazing questions, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, do you want to raise two kids that are going to be exactly like your potential spouse? Because
Yeah.
it could
And
happen.
think about also another thing is there's also this other thing. I don't know, I'm in this relationship, having this relationship conversation, but the other thing that I think is so important is that people get in relationships and the person will have all these wonderful qualities, but then they have all these not wonderful qualities. So they have these two kind of personas. So I tell people, like, you have to integrate those two into one person, because people will split the person into two people. So now they're wonderful here. So they stay with that person until the bad guy shows up. Then the bad guy shows up, they break up with him. Then the good guy shows up and they're like, well, I love him. I'm like, no, it's one person. So if they have every wonderful quality in the world, it's like having a reservoir of clean water that you put arsenic in.
Right.
Are you going to drink that water? No. Right. So it's like
Right.
being able to see where, that it's all one.
And that's a really good point, because most people, and yeah, I'm going to generalize, most people, they're not open to change. But guess what? Change is the most thing that's the most constant thing on earth is
Yes.
change. I mean, you got seasons, you have temperatures, you have everything, like everything changes. And it
Yes.
can change for the good, it can change for the bad. But guess what? If you don't play that victim role, it's always going to be good. Get something good out of everything that happens, good and bad, and your life is going to be abundant.
That's it right there. Mic drop. Did you hear that? Wait, repeat it again. You can, no matter what happens in your life, get something good out of everything that happens in your life, whether
Yeah,
good
either
or
good or
bad,
bad.
and
Yeah,
your life will be abundant, by Jeff Brekken.
absolutely.
That's the answer. I do want to do something before. I want to be respectful of your time, because I'm glomming it up. But this is the thing I want to ask, because we didn't even mention it. I want you to just, if you could just tell the listeners, where have you arrived in your life that you're continuing to grow in, obviously. Who are you? Who are you, Jeff Brekken?
I'm just a guy that wants to help people. Like, that's kind
What's
of
your
cliche,
business?
right?
What's your business? Tell us about it.
Yeah. So I've got a business called Iconic HR and Blue Sky Benefit Solutions. It's all about helping businesses. And this all came right from my dad, like way early in my life. My dad just helped people. He was a farmer. Like he fed people, he fed families, right? And like every farmer out there does, but they don't get the credit for that. But the thing about it is my dad was always had a servant attitude, and he's always like, Jeff, just do the right thing all the time. And guess what? You don't have to look behind you ever. And if you come from that sort of a background, like I just want to help. I want to help businesses. Going through COVID, I had a insurance agency that we did business in 46 states. And during COVID, most of our companies that we did business with had absolutely no idea how to handle HR, remote workers. How do we shut down? How do we lay people off? How do we bring people back? So this Iconic HR was born to help small businesses, whether we're taking over the entire HR department and integrating ourselves into that company, which is super easy and super awesome to do, because that most now I'm going to get on a rant. Most small businesses, they grow, right? And that's their opportunity. They want to grow. But the HR person more than likely was the receptionist at one time at that company when it was 2, 3, 4 employees. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing about it is with Iconic HR, we've got 20-year plus experienced HR people ready to go to work for you. They all have MBAs in HR, and they all have every certification possible in HR to protect you and your companies. And that is what small businesses just don't have. Like that normally would cost a small business $100,000 to have that sort of person. But if you can do it in just an absolute fraction of that, that's what we're here to serve. I'm here to serve all these small businesses that just, they have gaps. And right now it takes one bad hire to ruin a culture, to ruin your company, for a lawsuit to happen. I literally was on the phone yesterday, Alison. She said I couldn't mention any names, and it's not Alison, but she goes, and it was a director of a company that was like, I think, well, she goes, our handbook was updated in 2017. And I said, there's been like 4,000 labor laws that have changed in the last 5 years. And her eyes got as big as saucers. And I'm like, how about sexual harassment training? Do you have that in your company? And because that's the number one lawsuit right now is going on, and unfair employment and unfair termination, stuff like that. And if you don't have an updated handbook and policies and procedures, like you have a huge gap and you don't even know it. And she's like, I think I could have been accused of being like sexual harassment, like to a younger man, like that says, hey, you're looking good today, right? Like somebody could take that really wrong.
Yeah.
If roles were reversed and this was like a 58-year-old man, not woman,
Yes.
and then talking to a 23-year-old female instead of a 23-year-old male, like that could have been a freaking lawsuit immediately.
Yep. True.
And
Very
so
true.
like I'm so passionate about helping small business protect themselves with, if you don't have an HR department, you have lurking liabilities that are unbelievable. Like you have big gaps and you're a ticking time bomb for something waiting to happen.
So how does somebody do
That's
that
what
with
we
you?
do. We help.
I love that. How does somebody do that with you? Like, do they
Yeah.
like
So
somebody make the handbook for you? How does that work?
yeah, all of our tenured HR people, they've got access to all the policies, all the procedures that somebody would need. I mean, it's as simple as if you have remote workers, more than likely you have nothing in there about remote workers and their productivity and who's holding people accountable to those policies and procedures. Like a lot
So
of
do
people
you do
right now,
that? You hold them
yeah,
accountable? You do
yeah,
it?
we'll go in and be the mom and dad of the company and hold people accountable
How do
so
you do
that
that?
the owners, well, hold on, so that the owners can be the cool cousin, right? They're the feet on the street that kind of holds that culture together. But yet if somebody slacks off today or does something that, it's really hard to get workers right now. So they're letting people slide by. But guess what? People want to be held accountable
Oh yeah.
in anything that they do. Like that's a human notion that people strive to have, like accountability. Otherwise, if you don't have accountability for yourself or anybody else, you got nothing.
Yeah. So
And
like you
so,
physically come into the building or you call the person? How do you know?
oh well,
I'm
so
curious.
we integrate. So if somebody if a company has Slack or whatever that is for like an
Oh
intercompany
yeah.
communication, we'll integrate like we are the HR department, and we will absolutely hold everybody accountable. Like nobody wants to go out for drinks with HR because it's boring. It's not boring. It's only boring if you make it boring. And there's that,
True
the
about
the
anything.
old adage like, oh, they're really strict and do that. Yeah, guess what? We're strict because we need to grow your company. Let me put it to you this way. If you have like a growth chart for your company, 10% this year, 15 next year, we want to double sales in the next 5 years, whatever that is, right? However that looks for your company. You can't do that without holding your people accountable. And very few business owners will hold their people accountable. If they fall short of their growth, right? Guess what? It's probably an employee issue. You don't have the right people in the right seats on the right bus. and so we can come in and do that, like assessments, or you just are not holding, like, people are either remote and they're working 4 hours a day, and you know that they are, because guess what? All the emails are sent out at 8 a.m. and there's nothing returned until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Mhm.
Right? So that's the kind of thing that I mean, we will absolutely hold them accountable. And growth only happens when accountability and loyalty happens within the employee realm. And
Yeah, that's cool.
that's how super important HR is.
Yeah, that's cool. And you know what? It's a forgotten, like it's like the last thing that people do, you know? But it
Absolutely.
really does hold back growth. I mean, I see it here, like what we need to do, like this things like
Yeah.
that.
So a lot of people think that HR is a cost center. And if you have that mentality, yeah, it is. It's a cost. But guess what? What if we can turn that around and say it's a profit center now for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Which, it's a mind shift, and we can help small businesses grow and make that a profit center, because guess what? People are your absolute capital. Like, people capital is all you've got in business. If you don't have that, and if you don't have happy people and accountable people being accountable, you got nothing.
You know, I'll tell you something. It's interesting because I'm thinking about the perspective that you're bringing here is that I think that what when you start to grow and I don't know what it is, when you become more and more aware of what's happening as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you see that the investment in things is where the production is it's an investment. You know, having a CFO is an investment. You
That's
know, you're
right.
spending all this money, but you're actually making more money. So
It's
it's
like
very
it's
hard for
personal development.
what? Yes,
It's
exactly. In the business.
100%.
Yes. That's why
A lot
we
of
need
times
it.
what we'll see, you and I will see in the same groups, right? Like, there's so much personal development space. Tony Robbins and Ed and Andy, and like, but that's awesome, right? But the thing about it is nobody's putting that personal development into the HR so
Exactly.
that they can grow the company. And
Yes.
HR knows everything about everybody, right?
I love
And
it.
and they should. But how do we change that culture? It starts with HR.
So let me
So
ask you something. If we wanted to do that ourselves, and I know we're on a podcast and I probably shouldn't even be doing this, but what would we do? Like we said, well, everybody could hear it. So then what would we do? We set up an appointment with someone in your company to have a
yeah,
conversation. Because
yeah,
you
we
could
would
talk
set
to
up
anybody anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the same state you're in, right?
no, absolutely, all 50
Yeah.
states. So
Yeah.
yeah, we would just set up a discovery call to see if we're even the right fit and see if we
Yeah.
can even help, which most times we can. But you have to be able to see that vision about where you want your company to go and grow.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like any kind of a goal that you have, right? You have to pre-engineer and almost look at all the steps that have to be done to get up here, and then
Yep.
start at the bottom and then go up, right? You
Yep.
have to be able to see that within your growth of your company. You just can't say, hey, we're going to grow 10% this year and we're going to add 3 salespeople and do that. Well, no, there's lots of different
Yeah.
working
So many
parts and
variables.
pieces
Hmm.
that need to get, yeah. So that's like, growth comes and it has to start and end, and somebody has to hold these people accountable, and that's what we do.
I love it.
We're kind of the anti HR, because I mean, we love to have a good time. We bring education to
Hmm.
clients, which typically they don't get, but we're kind of like HR unhinged in that
Oh yeah,
in
that's
that
cool.
facet, because
Yeah.
yeah, because it's like, we do things a totally different way that you're currently doing things. And guess what? Now your HR is a profit center versus a cost center,
Love
which it's a
that.
win-win.
All right. So after this, we're gonna set something up. So listen, so we
Perfect.
have to wrap this up because we did like relationships, energy, spirituality, business. Who knows? I might even have to chop up this bitch. But anyhow,
Love
um,
it.
listen, I loved having you on, Jeff. You are just an inspiration. I want to thank you so much for being here. I hope I did not disrespect your time because I know
Absolutely
that we
not.
went over. But
It's been a
thank you.
it's been my honor and pleasure. Like, I love getting to talk to you. Anytime we can talk, it's a bonus for me. So
Yeah. So tell us where we could find you. It'll be in the notes, but where can people find you?
Yeah. On the web, it's myiconicher.com. On any social media platform, whether it's TikTok or IG or Facebook or LinkedIn, to be honest, it's Iconic HR. You just search that and it'll come right up. So
Awesome. Thank you. And wait, what is it? Addicted to Winning podcast is the other thing.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely,
Thank you
yes,
so much. It's an
it's been
honor
amazing.
and
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you,
All right.
Jeffrey.
Have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful day. Thanks.